Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno episode 245, and this is the show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show. So let's get started and talk about number 19, which is my least favorite book of the week, and that was Hunt for Wolverine, Weapon Lost issue 2. I didn't really dislike any of the books I read this week, but just this ended up being on the bottom of my pile, just because I don't feel like out of all the miniseries, this one is totally necessary. I think it's just because Charles Soule is the head of, you know, obviously this Wolverine event, and he's writing Daredevil. He's like, I want to write a Daredevil miniseries. So out of all of them, I feel like this is the one that feels least connected, even though they're trying really hard to make it feel connected. So overall, I gave this one 2.5 stars. Moving on to number 18, which is, I'm sad to see this lower, but again, wasn't a bad book, just was a lower book for this week, and that is Death or Glory, issue 2. I enjoyed the first issue, but here, definitely slowing stuff down. I still really like our main character, but we don't really get to see enough of her. I want to see her point of view a bit more. There's just a lot of characters being thrown at you, and I kind of wish it was just more about the main character, and she meets this other guy and kind of works with him, so I like that aspect of the story, but yeah, everything else, I guess the world building for me didn't really quite make it for me. I wasn't as interested in that. So Death or Glory issue 2 gets 3 stars, and that is number 18. Moving on to number 17, which is Tenseltown issue 2. I'm going to get the printed edition of this next week. And I enjoyed issue 1 a little bit more. We got to hear the voice of our character a bit more and understand her point of view of wanting to be a police officer. Here, it's just kind of going with the motions type issue. Has this kind of cop job, but doesn't, and that's kind of the story. There's not much that happens in this one, so I gave this 3 stars. Alright, moving on to number 16, which is just an arc I haven't been fully enjoying. That is Deathstroke vs. Batman, which is Deathstroke issue 32. Once again, I feel like this should have been his own thing. Deathstroke should continue with the story it was telling with his version of the Teen Titans. I like that a lot more than this story, and this is Damian the son of Deathstroke, and obviously he's not going to be. I just don't love the story, but the parts I do like is actually Dick Grayson and Jericho. I think those are the parts that I enjoy the most compared to the actual Deathstroke and Batman stuff. And of course the artwork's good, the action's good in this series. So overall I gave this 3 stars. Not a bad issue, just really looking forward to the series kind of getting back on track after this mini-series event going on. So, again, I gave that 3 stars, and that was number 16, I believe. Yes, we are moving on to number 15, which is Man and The Wasp, Living Legends issue 1, which is a one-shot. And it very much feels like a one-shot. It's not totally necessary for your collection unless you're a huge Janet Van Dyne fan or a huge Ant-Man fan. It is a callback to Hank and Janet's old adventure. Scott is now in the mix of it, and that's kind of all that happens. I did like the interaction between Janet and Scott more here, but and then compared to the Ant-Man and Wasp miniseries that came out this week, which hint hint, we'll be talking about that soon, but the actual adventure wasn't as fun as the Ant-Man and Wasp miniseries that came out. So I gave this 3 stars. Again, if you're a hardcore fan of these 2 characters, pick it up, but if you're not, it's not very necessary issue to pick up this week if you're trying to, you know, have less books in your pull. Alright, moving on to number 14, which is Ant-Man and the Wasp. Issue 1. Told you we were going to talk about this, and the reason I put this higher is the artwork is gorgeous. I love the way they navigate the microverse. I thought was really cool, and the parts I didn't like is kind of the forced relationship between Nadia and Scott. It feels like they're trying to do the same relationship they have in the MCU with Hope and Scott, and what's going to come up with that movie, and obviously that's the reason these 2 comics came out this week, but yeah, I kind of wanted a little bit more of a unique voice here. Definitely will be picking up the rest of the miniseries because I am a big Scott Lang fan, but wasn't exactly what I wanted with this series, and again, hopefully it can find its own uniqueness as the series goes on. So I gave this one 3.5 stars, and if you like cool action, I do recommend this issue though, because I thought the microverse stuff was cool. Alright, moving on to number 13, which is Archie, issue 31. Hasn't been in my top 5 in a while, which has been upsetting, but I still love this book. And this issue, we get to see the school dance. Things go wrong. Finally, it's revealed to, at least to the people in Riverdale, who Cheryl's father is, and Jason's father. And there's a gun in the school event with Cheryl's father. So a lot of drama going on. I love the Betty and Veronica stuff. I really think Mark Waid is teasing all the Betty Veronica shippers from Riverdale with these scenes, but it's still a lot of fun. And I gave this one 3.5 stars. It's kind of your generic dance story, and you know, it's obviously something's gonna happen, and they've been building up to this. I'm not a big fan of the Blossom arc. Maybe that's why I didn't enjoy it as much as maybe the other stories, but still worth reading, of course. So I gave this one 3.5 stars, and still not the biggest fan of the art style, though. It's a little too simplistic for me. I like a little bit more expression in Archie, because it is such a character-based series. Alright, moving on to number 12. I think people are going to be shocked that this is low, or ish, or middle ground, and that is Dazzler issue 1 X Song. A book I was really looking forward to because I am a huge Dazzler fan, but I feel like this issue missed a lot of potential. It actually mentions a lot of its potential, like the whole her returning to music, why she joined the X-Men in the first place. Her music life wasn't going well, and she's like, you know, I'll join the X-Men, and that's how she kind of became a superhero, because that's one thing I love about Dazzler. Her character, at least, you know, when she initially launched, is that she was a mutant that didn't join the X-Men, and at that time, and I would say still, that's a rarity. You know, it's either they become a villain, they become a hero, Brotherhood, or the X-Men. That's what happens with mutants. But Dazzler is like, no, you know, I'm not going to be defined that I'm a mutant. I like music. I want to have a music career. And that's something I always enjoyed about her character. And they somewhat mention here. I like the callbacks to A-Force. I really enjoyed that series and her arc in A-Force. That's probably one of the more recent, better arcs for Dazzler in, again, recent years. So I like seeing Thor's hammer and all that, or, you know, Thor Dazzler's hammer. I thought was a good story there, or a little good nod. But the whole Inhumans versus mutant thing didn't fit for me in this one. I wish it was just a bit more about Allison. I understand it was about her kind of figuring out that she wants to be a superhero again because she's going to join the Astonishing X-Men. But I felt like that could have flowed a lot better than it did. Artwork-wise, this is the same artist who worked on Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy meets Betty and Veronica. That's such a long title. But the same artist, and I still have the same problems. I feel like the woman's facial features look very similar. They all look like they kind of have the same type of face, and I would like a little bit more variety there. And also angles in the book. I feel like the paneling could be a little bit better, and for some reason everything feels very claustrophobic when with this artist style. So overall, I gave this 3.5 stars. Still definitely worth picking up if you're a Dazzler fan, but I think it could have been an even better book. But hey, maybe we'll get more Dazzler in the future, and there'll be opportunities for that. Definitely pick up the book, though, to support Dazzler. Alright, moving on to number 11. I think another book you guys are going to be surprised by, and that is Justice League issue 1. Enjoyed the book a lot. I thought it was a lot better than No Justice stuff and Metal, but I'm not a hardcore Justice League fan. I like a lot of the characters that are in it, but I've never been a hardcore, like, oh my god, I need to get every Justice League issue. So, for me, it's subjectively, they're just events that I was like, oh, that's cool, I guess. And you know, things we've seen before. It's the Legion of Doom versus the Justice League. It's a setup issue in a lot of ways. And a world-building issue. But the stuff I did like was definitely Martian Manhunter, him returning to the place he belongs, and the Rouster is a lot of fun as well, because it's very similar to the Justice League cartoon, and the artwork is gorgeous for this book as well. So overall, I gave this 3.5 stars. Definitely enjoyed the issue. We'll be getting more, but I think the hardcore Justice League fans will enjoy this a lot more. So again, middle ground for me, and that was number 11. Moving on to number 10, a book I always love, but a little bit of a slower issue here, and that is Batman issue 48. I love the artwork. I am a big fan of Janen's artwork. I just love the style, and I think all the artists that work with King has really worked well and been great collaborators. I think the script and probably is written in a way that is so connected to the artist, which I like, and you can kind of tell with the stories you read with Batman and the paneling choices and all that. So, but overall, what is this issue about? It's Joker wanting to be Batman's best man. He goes to this like chapel and wants to kill people, and that's it. You know, that's what's going on. It's just their discussion. And then Catwoman's like, something's wrong. I'm gonna go save Batman. And this has all been leading up to the other one-shots that have been going on, the prelude to Batman's wedding, so it's all connected. Again, a little slower, but still awesome conversation between Joker and Batman, and beautiful artwork as well. So Batman issue 48 gets 3.5 stars. That was number 10. Alright, moving on to number 9, which is the Man of Steel issue 2. Very solid book for me. I didn't love the art change in the last few pages though. Other than that, the art's really good for this book. But there are 3 artists, and the only time I felt like it was really noticeable was when it got really dark, the inking. And you could tell with that, again, with the final like 7 pages or so. But yeah, the actual story is interesting. You're still unraveling what the hell happened to Lois Lane and Clark dealing with that, and I really like the more story with the Daily Planet. Don't really care about the whole Krypton story as much. I think it's a unique idea, but still not being completely executed correctly to make me feel interested in it. But overall, a very solid issue, and I do like Bendis' voice a lot for Clark, and you know, Jay mentioned this on Frontline Live, and I agree, it's just how human he makes Clark, because that's so much his character. So, I'm going to give this one 4 stars, and that is number 9. Moving on to number 8, which is Injustice 2, issue 27, and if you're a Green Lantern fan, definitely pick this one up. It's fully Green Lantern issue where Hal is being punished for murdering people and being a Yellow Lantern and helping out Superman. But what I really liked is seeing Sinestro's daughter, and, you know, obviously it's a character we've seen before, but her taking center stage, going against Sinestro and Hal, was a lot of fun. And Guy Gardner just kind of being this sidekick type character talking to Hal was fun. It was a good, solid Green Lantern issue. So, and artwork is always really solid for this book. So, I'm going to give that one 4 stars. Alright, moving on to number 7. Yeah, number 7 is Wonder Woman Annual issue 2. I'm a big Star Sapphire fan. I'm a big Carol Ferris fan. Even though I was upset that we didn't see Carol in this issue, but at least they mentioned her as like she's unavailable. But now I'm really curious, like what the hell is going on with Carol, because she really hasn't been mentioned in Rebirth at all. So maybe that's a hint that we'll get something with Carol in the future and find out why she's unavailable. But I enjoyed this issue. It goes back to Blackest Night. If you're a fan of that event, I think you'll really like this. It's Wonder Woman becoming a Star Sapphire again, helping them out, and figuring out what love means. And that's always interesting to see from Wonder Woman's perspective. And artwork's really gorgeous for this book. I mean, look at this page, the shattered pieces in the background of seeing what love and hate is. I thought was so cool. I love her Star Sapphire costume. But even these moments that felt very like the Wonder Woman movie when they were trying to do kind of the flashbacks in the beginning of that film. Really like kind of this painting style that's going on. Yeah, really enjoyed the artwork for this one. So I gave that 4 stars, and that is number 7. Moving on to number 6, really was surprised by this book, and that was the Immortal Hulk issue 1. Almost made my top 5. Trying to keep it there, but there's some other good books that came out this week. But yeah, this is just a really solid premiere, and I really like the perspective of Hulk trying to figure out, am I the bad guy, am I a good guy? And then you see the other perspective of this man who shoots people in like this deli, and obviously he's the villain, but you get to see this other side of him, and I like that. I like this, that it shows obviously this concept of the Hulk is that he's two people, something in the inside he doesn't want to show, and then the outer shell that he does show to the world. And I think they take that concept in a new creative way with this issue, and the artwork feels very Bagley weekly style, which I liked, and overall I thought it was a really solid issue and definitely got me hooked for the next issue. So the Immortal Hulk issue 1 gets a solid 4 stars, and that is number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is Batman Prelude to the Wedding, Nightwing vs. Hush issue 1. A lot better than that Damian issue in my opinion. I love that it was Superman and Nightwing trying to celebrate Batman's wedding with a bachelor party, and then Hush wanting to be Nightwing, saying, oh, well, I want to be the best man. I want to be, you know, his best friend. And then you realize in the end that Nightwing's not even going to be Batman's best man, and I thought that was a really interesting twist that Superman's going to be it instead. And then we're leading into Batgirl's next issue, that the Riddler is going to attack her, which obviously I'm excited for that. But I thought it was a really solid issue that didn't focus just on Hush, but focused on more of the wedding aspect and more of the friendship aspect. And overall, I liked the artwork a lot more for this book too. I thought it fit well for Nightwing's story, and action was good, facial expressions were good. I like the coloring here as well. So overall, I gave this a solid 4 stars, and that is number 5. Moving on to number 4, which is another weddings related issue, and that is X-Men Gold, issue 29. And if you're a Kitty fan, I think you'll really enjoy this. It's just Kitty saving the day and saving Colossus. But what really made this go into my top 5 was that flashback scene of Kitty finding out for the first time that Colossus died, and then, you know, the realization here that he might die, and every single time they almost have their happily ever after, someone dies, or someone gets stuck in a bullet. So that's kind of a running gag with their relationship and in X-Men, I guess, culture and X-Men fandom. So I thought that was interesting to put here in a more serious way. So overall, I really enjoyed the issue. The main artwork was pretty solid, but Dave Marquez's artwork was stunning. Love his artwork, and I know it was just like for 2 pages, but the emotions that are put in that 1 page actually was so good. And if you're a fan of Kitty, I think you'll enjoy this one. A lot of great action, and her being badass, but at the same time you're seeing more of the emotional core of her character, which is exactly who Kitty is. She's not afraid to show emotion, but at the same time she's a badass. So I gave that a solid 4 stars, and that was number 4. Moving on to number 3, which is Strangers in Paradise XXV issue 4, a book I really enjoy, and I love this creator. As always, the black and white artwork is stunning and so great. Love the emotions put into here. And also the page I really loved was when we get to see Stephanie watch Kachu on the ground because she's sick. She has pneumonia and she didn't try to get help. And she's running and trying to chase Stephanie, and she lifts Kachu's shirt up and sees, she's a Parker girl. Okay, I'm gonna grab her and try to help her. So I thought that was interesting. I love those like kind of beats that Moore takes and obviously is very successful with, because he is the writer, creator, and just everything he does. He's the artist as well. So he's the sole man doing this. So it really works for the emotion and pacing for this book. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed this one, just seeing Kachu getting pneumonia, and in the way that's, again, paced and written was really well done, and then Stephanie running away by the end. So I enjoyed it. It's kind of a slower issue, but I like that. I like the moments it took to tell this story. So I'm going to give that a solid 4 stars. Alright, moving on to number 2. This is super hard because I really like these 2 issues a lot, and I couldn't pick. But number 2 for me this week is Go-Go Power Rangers issue 10. And I thought the balance between Rangers was really good. We get to see a really good emotional story with Jason wanting to save his father from cancer, and Zordon not being able to do anything, and Jason kind of understanding but being upset about it. But what really puts me over you know, the edge and loving this issue is Kimberly. I love her story, and it's interesting to see the Ranger Slayer in future past, where she's teaming up with Bulk. I love that scene of Bulk knowing that she's a Power Ranger and really getting to see more of an emotional core from him, and a lot of development from the school bully comedic character, which Pirate does a great job in general with that. He goes over the cliches slash stereotypes these characters are and really hits their inner shell. And you see that with Bulk. And one thing I like though is see, all right, what made Kimberly evil, and is she evil? Or is she kind of have her own motives? Is she really working with Lord Draken? In my mind, I don't think she is, but we'll have to see as the story goes on. And then, you know, obviously the Power Rangers having to go up against a Ranger Slayer and Kimberly having to go once again face to face with herself. So I like it. I loved all the character stuff. I like the little conversation Trini and Billy had in this issue. Matt, you know, Matt saying, oh, I'm connected to the Power Rangers somehow, kind of going nuts about it. Kimberly not knowing what to say because, you know, as his girlfriend, she wants to be supportive, but at the same time, she's a Power Ranger and has to keep that a secret. A lot of great drama going on and a lot of good stuff happening where it doesn't feel overcrowded, though. It just feels like everyone's getting a moment to shine, which I love about Parrott's writing and love about this series and why it's one of my favorites. So, Go Go Power Rangers issue 10 gets 4.5 stars. Love this book. If you're not reading this, pick it up. It's a great book. So moving on to number 1, and that's Paper Girls issue 21. And I feel like I've gotten even more of appreciation for this series after rereading it for like the 5th time, but doing that analysis video and really digging deep into the symbolism of the series, because you really get to see a lot of that in this issue. And I kind of want to go a bit more in detail with this one. I love the opening of this issue, which is a flashback but dream, and it seems like every arc will open up that way. So our first story arc, obviously we had Aaron have that first dream of, you know, biting the apple. We get to see that. Last arc we got to see, no, 2 arcs ago, we got to see KJ, she had the dream with, you know, her being on her sports team and all that, and then drowning. And now in this arc, we get to see Mac, see the flashback of her getting a book. And it's not exactly a book her friends would read, or the girls in her class would read. And she's a little ashamed of it. She's like, you know, I want to read this book. Can I read it? And then it turns into a nightmare, and the librarian reminds her, you're going to have leukemia. And if you check out my Frontline review, that's going to be coming up tomorrow on our written review for it. I mentioned that this is very much about escapism. You know, it's interesting to see that, you know, she used books to escape in a lot of ways. She's obviously used drugs in some way, you know, nicotine to escape as well in the past. And now, by the end of this issue, she doesn't want to escape anymore. She goes to the Tree of Knowledge, which, again, goes into these biblical references that we've seen from the series in the past. And even Aaron says, hey, it's from the Bible. Have you ever read the Bible? Don't do this. It's evil. Knowledge is evil. And then you can literally connect the technology aspect because this is a techno tree. It goes into the themes of connecting that technology is evil and going into the Tree of Knowledge from the Bible that we've seen so often in this series. But she goes head on and says, no, I want to know the truth. I'm done with escaping. I want to know my future, and I want to cure my leukemia that I've been fearful of and been trying to escape. Other small things I really liked about this issue was language. I thought was really interesting, where they go into this, you know, town slash city, which is their city in the future, and they're speaking very differently, but as you read it, you can understand what they're saying. It just all meshed together, and it kind of shows how our language has evolved with like texting, where we shorten everything and we mesh things together, and maybe in 100 years that's exactly what our language will sound like. So I like that that was something that we saw. Another thing I liked was a small moment with KJ wanting to know her future because she's the only one who doesn't, and we've seen this in almost every arc as well. And then also I think we're going to deal with KJ and Mac's relationship in this upcoming arc as well, because we know this is the arc where they're going to have their kiss. And I think, again, Mac finally avoiding her escapism and going head on into the truth will also delve into her sexuality and allow her to admit that she is gay or bisexual, whichever they end up doing. But yeah, I'm really excited to see where the story goes. The artwork is great. I love the character work. I just love this series. So overall, hopefully you enjoyed that slightly in-depth review of Paper Girls. And I gave this one 4.5 stars, and that is my pick of the week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there are links for my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. And I'll see you guys later.